Welcome to the Mindset Mirror Connection podcast. In today's episode, we are going to talk about progress over perfection. Oftentimes in this industry, we see people go into this perfect fail thinking and look at outcomes rather than looking at the progress they're making along the way. We know as coaches, once someone is able to do this, they create a foundation that they can sustain for their lives. So if you're ready, listen up and lean in as we elevate your mind. What's up, girl? You want to give away some t-shirts?
Yeah.
Yes. So for those who do not know,
I love a good t-shirt.
Yeah. Our t-shirt that says what you say in your mind, you see in the mirror. We will be giving away t-shirts once a month.
Okay.
I thought I was going to do it weekly, but once a month for anyone who gives us a 5-star rating or review on Apple Podcasts. Our goal is to get on New and Noteworthy soon here.
Soon.
It's hard because a lot of the podcasts that get on there are people who are like
big
celebrities.
Yeah.
So obviously we're not yet celebrities. So if you guys are listeners who've had some awesome freaking feedback, people reaching out on Instagram, on YouTube, please give us a 5-star rating and review.
On Apple
Podcasts. You can also give us a review on Spotify too. I mean, just do both. So our winners for our first t-shirt giveaway are, this is the name that you put on your Apple Podcast review, SarahOutback.
Okay.
Thank you. And EM-Villa or Via. EM-Via. Thank you guys for the review. We appreciate it. Again, that helps people see us more and get this information out there. So thanks, y'all.
That's nice. That's why, like, when clients do a review, it's like, thank you. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, it is very nice.
It's
We've had some
appreciated.
really good reviews lately.
Yeah, I know.
We just need to put them out there.
I know. Well, it's like one of those things that you put on the to-do list of, like, because even asking clients for a review, because sometimes they honestly don't think about it, right? And then they'll be like, oh, like if I'm like, hey, you've had a good experience, do you mind leaving a review? Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's like,
or referrals, man.
Referrals are good
referrals.
Too.
We've actually had a good week of referrals this week. So I'm excited. Please. I had a woman reach out that was she's from the Mind Pump Forum, that was going to sit up with us on a call. But fortunately, she's like, I don't know if I can make this work. And everything in me is like, just get on the call.
Yeah.
Because we started talking, and this is something out there for you guys. I'm not going to tell you her name, and I don't know the name of this coach, but she invested a lot of money in a menopause specialist with a big following on Instagram. Yeah. So I probably know who it is.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, she put me on 1,350 calories. This woman's like 5'4", 150, and she's going through perimenopause.
Rough.
So that is not what we want to do. Our bodies are already under a lot of stress, so we want to minimize that as much as possible. And so,
especially because she's probably been low calories for a while too.
Yeah. And so we talked, and she has a good game plan. I think I convinced her to reverse diet.
Yeah.
And because she's at 1,650, and she said, oh, we're reversing to maintenance. I was like, where? Because 1,650 is not your maintenance. 1,650 is probably where you could have gone at the lower end of your deficit. So she's like, well, I'm scared to do it.
Of course.
I understand that. And I asked her the question, I'm going to ask you this question. Are you scared to do it because you've never done it before? Yes. So you're instead trying to do the same thing that you've done before,
right,
and see the same results.
Right.
Yes, you're right. I was like, all right, cool.
Okay.
And then I told her maybe if she follows through, we'll have her on.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Okay.
We want to know, guys. We want to know, like, how are you utilizing the information we're giving you? We had a couple people reach out on Instagram about the content and how they're already putting it into practice, as well as they've attended the webinar that we had. We want to know what questions you have, and every single one of our links, every single one of the show notes, we have a link to our questionnaire.
Questionnaire. And then we post usually either on Sundays or Mondays that we're going to do questions. And it's not like we're going to do questions and answers every week. We'll gather them, pick the ones that are most relevant, and then go from there.
Yeah. So we want to know. Okay. So what's up with you?
This past week, I've had 2 events this past week. One, I had to go rescue Michael.
I meant to ask you about that. What the hell happened?
Dude. So he was driving back from Texas. So Michael goes back to Texas every couple weeks or months or years. I don't know. There is no set pattern. He goes back there.
Yeah.
And so this time he drove because he was going to bring this clunk of a car back. So another one.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to restore it and work on it. And okay, great. Yeah, that's wonderful. So if there is another lady listening to this that has a significant other that's into cars, this story is for you.
I also have one of those.
So he drove there, and so he was driving back Thursday. And so I woke up pretty early that morning, so I called him at like 4:30 just to see what he was up to. And he's like, "Oh, I'm already on the road." I'm like, "Okay, cool." So he was going to probably be in Arizona around like 1 or 2 o'clock, right? So I go to audiology. I come home and I took a nap, and then I woke up around I think like 1 o'clock, and I had a meeting at 2 with a provider in the Valley, and he wasn't home. And I was like, "Okay." I'm like, okay, maybe we forgot time change stuff. I don't know. And so I was like, well, I need to call him just to tell him like I'm not going to be home. And so call him, go straight to voicemail. I'm like, okay. So I try again, like thinking maybe, because sometimes I have got like an iPhone 12 mini. So it's dated to today's standards.
Loser.
Well, yeah, everybody has like an iPhone latest. And I'm like, I'm good. My phone's paid off. I like that. So I try to call again straight to voicemail, and I'm like, okay. So maybe like I'm trying to think like Michael he probably forgot a charger. And so I was like, well, he probably is on his work phone, at least working while he's driving. And so I try to call that straight to voicemail. I was like, okay. So yeah. So I'm like, whatever. Like there's no sense in me panicking. We've been in many situations before where he's broken down. And so, Yay. So I'm driving to go and meet with this provider, and he calls me and he's like, "Oh, hun," which anytime he goes, "Oh, hun," it's a red flag. And so he's like, "I broke down on the side of the road and I got this fucking trailer behind me and I'm on a blind curve." And I'm like, "Where are you?" And he's like, "I don't know, highway like 88 or 87. I'm like, "Oh, the Beeline Highway?"
I don't know where that's at.
Oh my gosh. Have you ever driven to like Payson?
Nope.
Oh, really? It's an awesome drive, and it's really pretty. But the highway is super curvy. So put like I-17. So there's a road that goes from Phoenix to Flagstaff, and it's pretty straight. There's some curves. Yeah. But add like all the curves. Ugh. Yeah. And on a 2-lane in the middle of nowhere. No. And so I'm like, okay, what do you need me to do? I don't know. I'm just pissed. I'm like, well,
what happened?
So the truck coincidentally, when we were first dating, we were driving to Dallas, and his truck just like stopped working, like on the side of the road.
And he's got like a dually
diesel thingy. I don't know. I don't think this one's a dually. No, it's not a dually, but it's a diesel. Like I think it's a F350. I
think so.
I don't know. So I was like, is it the same thing that happened on our way to Dallas? And mind you, that was like when we first started dating. So however long ago that was. And he's like, it's the exact same thing. And I was like, oh no. Because I remember his reaction then. And I'm like, oh my God. So I'm like, what do you need me to do? I don't know. And I'm like, okay, well, I kind of need you to know. Like, I need you to take a minute and breathe. Breathe. And I was like, do you want me to come get you? No, go to your meeting. And I was like, no, I can cancel. How are you going to get home?
Right. From the side of the road.
He's trying to call a tow truck company. And of course they're not answering. He doesn't get service, all this. And so I'm like, just send me where you are and I'll come out there and figure it out. Do you need me to call AAA? Because I have AAA. No, I'll figure it out and I'll call you if I need to. Okay.
He probably needed her to call AAA.
And so I start, it's like an hour out. It's not too, it's like going out to the river, and then beyond that. So I'm driving out there and I was listening to our podcast. So I was like, oh, whatever.
We need a 5-star rating review.
We'll put Michael. We'll put Michael on there. Like she rescued me listening to the podcast.
We fell in love.
Yeah. So he's on the side of the road, like at this random turnoff. And so I pull in and I'm like, so what the hell happened? And he's like, I'm just driving down. And then all of a sudden the truck stopped working. So I was able to get it like pulled over to the side, but it's on a blind curve. So ADOT, which is like Arizona Department of Transportation, came out. They blocked off half the lane. He finally found a tow truck. And mind you, so he's got the truck plus a trailer with a car on it.
Oh, yeah.
And not his big trailer, a different trailer.
Good.
Yeah. And so I'm like, oh my God. He's like, yeah, like, I don't know. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So we go.
So he stopped traffic.
Yeah. And then he couldn't get, so where he was stopped, he couldn't get service. So he got out of the truck and started walking on the highway.
Geez.
I know. I was like, okay. Like,
Yeah.
I don't. And so these random people picked him up. And he's like, it was so frustrating because I'm just infuriated. And they're like, so how was your day? Like, what's good? Like trying to like make small talk with him. And he's like, I just want to be like, shut the fuck up. I'm so pissed. You know what I mean?
He can't.
Yeah, but he can't. So he was very, I'm sure, pleasant. Like, I'm fine. So random people dropped him off there. And so then what we had to do, because of the highway, it's not like there's not a lot of crossing points. We had to go up, back, down, and around. We get there, tow truck company is ready to go. So then they followed us home.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. So that was, and that had to take longer because they're not driving 90. So followed us home and then dropped off the truck. So the truck coincidentally had work done on it the week before. So I'm like, so did the work happen this? And so turns it, because he was starting to mess around with it, and he's like, I turned it on and just diesel flooded out of the bottom. And so I'm like, oh, good.
That's bad.
So yeah. So we have a broken down diesel truck sitting in front of our house, which is not the worst thing. And now Michael has a new car project amongst many projects.
So I've always been under the impression he just hires people to do these projects for him.
Nope.
He's doing this one?
Not though. The racer cars, yes. But
what's happening with my hair. Okay, go here.
This car, he's doing it himself, which great. Yeah. It's at the shop, so it's not in my house.
Okay.
Which is fine. Yeah.
Because he has the
toy barn.
Got it. Toy barn.
So I did that Thursday. That was fun. Yeah.
What was second?
Second was I got my vajayjay wax for the first time.
Ever? Oh, yeah. How is it?
It was like I saw Jesus.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I can imagine, is your vagina a little sensitive? I feel like with pressure.
No, not yet from the baby. No. So I because I wanted to get it because I figure, okay, one, like if I shave, sometimes I just get horrible razor burn. So I'm like, I can't live like this at 33 years old anymore. It's like stupid. Then I figured I'm eventually not going to be able to wrap around my belly and take care of the situation.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I better figure out the waxing situation. I better figure out
those who are watching. We have a little plant on our.
Well, I always play with it
table.
Too. So I was like, I better figure this out, and then we're going to we're going to be like, it's swimsuit season, and I was like, so I need to figure this out. So I go and I'm like, okay, and I just wanted like the bikini line, and so she's like, not a Brazilian. I was like, no,
we'll talk about.
Yeah, I don't want to go like full thread right now. Like, I just need to do I even want to do this? And if I don't, like, should I? I've done laser before, but you have to do it like on this cycle. It's pain. So I was like, then I just need to get real if that's what I'm gonna do. And so I go and she's like, okay. And she's like, butterfly your legs. So I'm like, okay, like this isn't any worse than a pelvic PT exam.
Did you sweat? I would always sweat because I'm so like nervous.
Oh, really? No,
yeah.
I was just like, tell me what I need to do for care and what do I need to expect?
Yeah. I would just my whole body was like hot. Oh. I don't know why.
Well, probably because it's odd.
It is odd.
Just
like I just met you. Here's my labia.
Hoo-ha. Yeah, that's what I'm like. Both of them
Jesus?
And my butthole. Yeah. If you really want to get intimate. And so I was like, okay. And she's like, just talking me through it. She was, once I cussed, she kind of, that broke the ice with her a little bit because I was like, she was trying to be professional. And then I'd be like, I'm just like, okay, I don't want a Brazilian. I don't want to go into that. So, okay, fine. So I get it done. I'm like, holy cow, like crap. And so, she still got that was the first time. I'm like, all right, whatever. I'm not going to get up now. So she does it. I get the products afterwards because I was like, I don't like by the time you order them on Amazon and all that and the price, because I went to European Wax Center and they were like reasonably priced. So I was like, okay. So I get home and I'm like, I wonder. And so I look and it's like flaming red.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, like the whole point of me doing this was so I didn't have this. And so I was like, oh Jesus, like what did I do? And I was like, thank God I don't have anything coming up where I need to be in a swimsuit. And so I was like, my cousin does waxing too. So I was like, is this normal? Like, and she's like, oh yeah. Like it's normal. It takes a little bit. And I'm like, okay. So today is better. So it's been that was on Saturday this month. So 2 days later, I'm like,
it's still red.
It's not red, but it's still not how I would be comfortable wearing a swimsuit.
Oh,
I know.
The first time I did it, my aunt had a waxing little deal from
Uh-huh.
her house, and I bruised.
Really?
Yeah.
I could see that
Yeah,
because I
I
was like
bruised.
sore.
Yeah.
I was like,
And
dear God.
I prefer waxing over sugaring, which is fucking
What
terrible.
do they do with sugaring?
It's just they like put it at the sugar. I don't know, because I almost fell off the table. And I was like, you can wax it now. She's like, you don't want me to sugar it? Nope. She's like, it's better. No, thank you. I've also done laser, Brazilian.
Yeah,
done
I
all
did
the
a
things.
Brazilian laser and it didn't like last. And so I was like, well, I could do
Stupid.
that again. But then I'm like,
Yeah.
or just
Well, and I don't think you need lasers near your
no, probably not.
dealio.
I wonder what my OBGYN would say about that.
Yeah,
actually.
no, I just remember it being like, fuck.
Yeah.
But it is better than sugar. I think sugaring, they like can literally take this sugar ball and like flick it across. I don't know. It was,
yeah. I'll have to
it
Google
didn't
that.
feel good. But yeah. I mean, when they wax your eyebrows, it usually goes down pretty
well.
quickly.
And that's what I had. I remember like when I first used to wax my eyebrows, they'd be super red. And now they don't really get that red.
Okay.
And so I was
So it's
like,
just an
okay, so that's
adjustment.
normal. And so I've been told, one of my clients today, I asked her about it because I know she does. I was like, I got to ask you. And she's like, I like, if I'm going to do it, I need a solid 3 to 4 days before I'm presenting to the to the person that will be seeing it. And so I was like, okay, that's good to know. So again,
Love
like
that.
thankfully I'm in a committed relationship and he's just like, wow, that looks not good. And I'm like, I know.
Like, I do not have an STD.
Yeah.
This
I'm
is
not
relax.
outbreaking.
Yeah. No.
So he's like,
gosh.
and so you're supposed to like exfoliate 3 times a week. Yeah, I'm sure you know this. And then I have like these little wipes that you do after every shower. And then I've got the oil that you do
Wow,
every
you're
day.
committed.
Well,
I would just put coconut oil on
that's
it.
what I asked her. I was like, so coconut oil? She's like, and I was like, you're not selling me on the coconut oil. So.
I think coconut oil is used for everything.
Yeah.
I think you've got wax situation, coconut oil. Like my lip gloss was a little bit like dried up.
Mhm.
Threw some coconut oil. Boom. This is the lip gloss I'm wearing now.
Really?
It like helps like put the moisture in it.
I love coconut
If
oil.
you got a hemorrhoid, put in coconut oil. That's an inside joke.
Okay, I was like,
my girlfriend and I were talking about this exact subject, and she was like, she's a chiropractor / naturopath, and she was like, boom, this, and then it was like hemorrhoid coconut. So I was just thinking
Like
about her
everything.
because she was like, I mean, you may get hemorrhoids when you're pregnant. So now,
well, yeah, you do get hemorrhoids usually when you're
Yeah,
pregnant because
so.
of the pressure.
have you ever thought about? Okay, so lifting heavy, obviously can make you get hemorrhoids.
Yes.
People in CrossFit have to have just flares
of
hemorrhoids. Like the CrossFit games.
Yeah. I'm
like, I mean, like even pelvic floor health.
A bunch of buttholes.
I know, me too. When I watch a CrossFit games, I'm like, hemorrhoid.
Wouldn't you say the same about like powerlifting then too? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, even with pelvic floor work,
right. Well, and like breathing
techniques. Can you avoid them?
I don't know. I would ask the pelvic PT that I'm interviewing, but I feel like we should focus more on pregnancy and postpartum.
I think it's struck by hemorrhoids because
I'll add it to my list.
I just know from my clients who have been pregnant, they get hemorrhoids. But then also this is my own thing when I watch CrossFit games. If I ever do, like,
I like watching the CrossFit games.
How are these people not like walking?
I know.
Like, and they have like one of those like things you sit on.
The donut.
Yeah. So
I'll ask her because I'm interviewing. I set up interviews with a chiropractor that works with postpartum and pregnant people. And then I set up an interview with my doula to talk about that. Then I set up an interview with a pelvic floor PT.
Oh,
so I'll ask her
sounds
about the
expensive.
They are worth their money.
Pregnancy.
Yeah.
Anyway, so lots of adventures.
That's it. That's that.
What
about you?
I went to our neighbor girl, like our neighbor that used to watch our dogs.
Oh, yeah.
To her dance show.
Didn't she graduate? Oh, no.
She graduates today.
Oh,
yeah.
On Monday?
I guess. 20th, right?
Yeah.
Went to her dance show.
Cool.
It was awesome. They did a really good job. And it was an hour.
Whoa.
I know, which is awesome because normally they're like 3 hours.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I was thinking an hour is long.
For a dance show for the entire high school?
Oh, no. Okay.
No,
I
like
was
a
thinking
solo.
I was thinking.
So not just her dancing up there.
Yeah, I was thinking her soloing. I'm like, Jesus.
No. It was like the whole dance program.
Okay.
And then we threw Dustin a goodbye party, going away party, which was really fun. Nope, I didn't cry.
Good for you.
We had a good time.
Where'd you go?
We started at the Deuce,
Okay.
which I love. And then we just like popped around.
Downtown.
Yeah, we always have these intentions to go to like new places, but we always end up at the same place.
Yeah.
And then yesterday we just relaxed, and I like to do like spa things on Sundays, you know, like a scrub, a mask, a hair treatment, drink some of my tea, read my book. I'm back to reading.
Yeah, I was like, hold up.
I know. Reading for me is
questionable.
Yeah. So I'm back to reading How to Do the Work by Nicole LePera, just because honestly, I don't care to read anything else. If you have not read How to Do the Work by Nicole LePera, you need to read it. She and I are so similar in how we're very well educated in regards to psychology, but she is the holistic psychologist. Now, I don't believe she has any certifications in personal training and nutrition coaching, but she talks about how to feed the body, how to move the body, how to manage stress. But then she talks too about the codependency and the attachment and the ego and the trauma stories and the trauma wounds and bonds and all that. So
I need to put her on my list to read.
It's so good. She's awesome. One day we will have her on the show.
Okay.
We will. It will happen. And she'll
be like, hi.
Yes.
Hi. I'm Christina. I'm Nicole. I'm a therapist. Yay. I'll be like, hey, girls.
Yeah, I know. Well, I joined her Healer Circle, which is like a membership. And it's more for people who really do struggle with different things, and they do training. So I did a training from Sarah Gottfried, free. She does like women hormones, but hers is the autoimmune. I forget the name of the book, but she was talking about how
she was on Huberman.
Yeah, a lot of people with PTSD have autoimmune issues. It was very interesting. She's really into like ketamine and psilocybin and MDMA. MDMA is going to be FDA approved,
and they're rescheduling marijuana.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that part. So it's funny. So that happened, but it's not funny. This is actually really terrible. We don't watch the news in the morning, so we don't really know what's going on in the world. My girlfriend Rachel, who lives in Houston, that I went to go visit, sends me, the weather out there. She's destroyed. Huge oak trees.
Yeah.
Huge. Like she drove us through the neighborhood she showed me because they have a home there that her sister lives, and then they live like a little bit down the street. And I was like, where have I been?
Yeah.
And I feel bad because we have clients in Texas, and I'm just like,
I don't want
did you eat your apples today, Jean?
They're like,
did you get on your walk today? They're like,
I can't even. I don't even have electricity.
Yeah. They didn't have electricity for like 4 days.
Yeah.
What? I should probably. Can you just tell me things I need to know? I don't like watching news. I don't want to watch the news, or give me some sort of news outlet that doesn't talk about politics or bad things, like other than the weather.
Well,
I can't do it in the morning. I watch HGTV.
Oh, really?
Yeah, think about it. It's a great thing to start.
Yeah.
Look at this ugly house. Look at us put this work into it. Boom.
See, I like the news in the morning. I'm a big news girl.
Well, you just give me a lowdown, please. I did sign up for Wordle through New York Times, and I had to get
Wordle.
It's a game that Dustin and them play. And I was like sitting there, and I was like, "Oh, this is good. I want to play this." So,
is it like
through New York Times? I don't know. All I know is it's like a crossword puzzle, and it's blank, like crossword puzzle, and it gives you but the word, it's almost like Sudoku. So it's a crossword puzzle. Yeah, it's just regular word. I was like, wait, the words go this way and this way. I'm like, no, that's actually what a crossword puzzle does. I'm like, no, it's Sudoku. No, girl, crossword puzzle.
Okay.
But you have to do it under a certain amount of time. Anyways, but I had to sign up for the New York Times.
Really?
To do it.
Do you have a New York Times subscription?
Apparently.
Wow.
Which, again, not reading in the morning. I won't even read the Nicole LePera book in the morning because I do my Brain FM, Cold Plunge, Headway. And the Headway books I read are very positive.
That's just not how my morning goes.
Yeah, I don't want to start my day like that. So that's that.
That's that.
Yeah. So today,
what are we talking about?
Well, I wanted to bring this up because there's literally today, and this is just fresh in my mind. I had a client reach out. I don't want to do this deficit anymore. It's not working. And it's kind of what we're talking about, kind of not, but how many times are people, or even there's someone that tagged me on a post on TikTok that was like, I'm doing all the things and nothing's working. And I'm just like, okay, well, let's talk about progress over perfection. And also how like all or nothing thinking is literally keeping you stuck. You know, it was funny. If you guys follow me on Instagram, I posted something on 75 hard.
I know. People were so pissed.
They were pissed. They're
but
like,
I'm like, why? Like, let's get real about that.
Well, and that's what I said. They're like, well, it's a mental thing. And I'm like, if you need that type of punishment to keep you sick, I'm going to call it punishment, but like, there are no rest days. You have to start over if you mess
and you
up.
have to like read 10 pages a day or something. It's not just like work out and eat and like drink a gallon of water.
Mm-hmm.
And
we were like, that's how I learned how to do habits. I'm like, I get if that's the way that you learn,
right?
But the majority of humans do not learn that way. And it is set in all or nothing thinking. Most mainstream diets are set in perfection, fail, all or nothing. And from the majority of the people that we work with, they are majority women. We do have some men we work with. They struggle with that concept of having very high expectations of themselves, you know, grinding, you know, doing all of the work. And unfortunately, you can't do that in your body.
Right.
Because either your body's going to respond and like give you the middle finger, you're going to hurt yourself, you're going to get ill, whatever. So I really think, you know, if people, when they can, look at the process and how progress looks throughout their experience becomes forever rather than just, I did it perfectly, I hit the goal, and then it ends. So that's why I thought we'd talk about that.
I think that's a good topic because it's almost, you can identify this in most of our clients, but also most people have this like, I didn't do it correctly, therefore I shouldn't do it at all. And it doesn't have to just apply to fitness and nutrition. It's more so of like in academics too, like where people are, if they didn't get the straight A's, then they must have failed. And, you know, in some households, fortunately, it's okay to get like B's and C's too and still make progress. But I think it's hard to recognize. Yeah, I was a B, A and B.
I was an A and B, but then I got a C in
math,
statistics and math.
Shocker.
I know.
I think I got a C in math too.
No, statistics was a bitch.
I didn't even get that far.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I didn't. I got to math like 3, 4, or whatever it's called. Algebra. Algebra was the furthest.
Oh, in high school, I didn't even take. I just did the bare minimum.
Yeah, same. Yeah. And then I took at community college, I took the math class, same. And then ironically, I was dating a guy that was in the math class, and so that was very helpful.
Yeah,
and that was that. And that was the only math class I ever needed for my degrees.
That's funny.
Yeah, like, perfect. Same. Okay, so sorry, it's progress over perfection. Yeah. Okay, so a lot of all or nothing thinking.
Yeah, well, and all or nothing thinking, for those who don't understand it, is very like black or white thinking. It's like in between, like it's only these two ways, right? So we have perfect or fail, black and white thinking, good or bad. And oftentimes people who grow up in environments where they can't make mistakes, they're criticized for making mistakes, so they think they have to do things perfectly, and or they're compared to other siblings, and that sibling's like the golden, and they're not the golden, so then they're always striving to be perfect. And in that case, most of the time they're never perfect because the golden's job is to be perfect. The golden. Yeah. That's a whole nother conversation about family roles. You may have parents who have just high expectations in general, or maybe even your parents are very successful. So you think I always have to like meet this, these high expectations or standard, right? My parents have set the bar. I need to, meet and exceed it. And it's really difficult because our parents too, like in any of those scenarios, they just want you to do your best, hopefully. Right. I mean, there are going to be parents who are traumatic. Yeah. Like they're genuinely saying you're bad if you don't. Right. And they may not deliberately and directly say that. They may also deliberately and directly say it. But still, it's that kind of, the connotation that the way we're talking about things references that. And it makes me believe that that's true for me. But for most of the parents, hopefully.
Well, and that's reinforced too.
Mhm.
Like it's not just true in this one circumstance. There are circumstances or events or situations that happen that continue to reinforce that belief, who bring you to who you are and what you believe today too.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. For a lot of parents, when you do well, obviously they celebrate you.
Right.
When maybe you struggle, that's where they struggled with that, reinforcement.
How to identify. Yeah.
Right. Instead of being like, hey, it's okay. Let's learn from it. How can we learn? Like, or what do we need to work on? Or did you see how you did it differently this time?
Yeah.
Our parents didn't have that shit. No. Like we talk like that because that's what we do.
Right.
However, I mean, until I did this work on myself and obviously educated myself, I didn't ever talk to myself.
When I talk about this part with clients a lot, I'm using their kids or their potential offspring or their whomever, like a younger child, as an example for themselves. So I go, for example, if your son was to come home and be like, gosh, I'm so stupid at math, then you wouldn't be like, well, you kind of are, like,
except for my parents.
Yeah. Just kidding. Same.
You're like, let's just go to the lowest level. Okay, thank you.
So they would be like, you wouldn't say. So now again, that's developing like your inner child. So when we go back to you, why is it okay to tell yourself that? Thinking of, I'm so stupid for overindulging on the breakfast burrito, like we talked about on another episode. And it's like, well, would you say that to your kid if they're like, oh, I'm so stupid, I overate? No. So then why do we say it to ourselves? Well, there's that perfection that they're looking for of the perfect amount to have for that breakfast burrito or the perfect amount to know for math. And if they don't do it right or don't know it, they're a complete failure.
Right.
Instead of recognizing like, oh, maybe math just isn't my strong suit, but what are some positive things that I've learned over time from math or that I've done with math? Have I gotten B's? B's are okay. It's still passing.
Hey, what's up, guys? Quick interruption from our sponsor, the Mindset of Matter coaching program. If you are tired of gaining back the same 20 pounds that you lose over and over again, if you're tired of having to work out 5 to 7 days with only seeing results that you do not desire, or you are just tired of living in a body that you do not feel confident in, you will want to take advantage of this month's offer. For the month of May, we will be offering $100 off our Mindset Matters cohort-style coaching program. In this program, you will receive curriculum and coaching to help rewire your mind to create new beliefs about yourself and ultimately gain the outcomes that you desire. In this program, you receive weekly reflections in the Mindset of Matter app. Each reflection is a part of the mindset method. On top of this, you also receive daily journal prompts to help enhance the things that you're learning or enhance the tools so that you can solidify them and utilize them moving forward. On top of this, you get access to myself or one of my coaches in a weekly group coaching call. In this call, you are able to ask questions and get coached through the reflection and the things that you're learning. The next cohort starts June 3rd. And again, for the month of May, we'll be offering $100 off. If you're interested in this, you'll find the link in the show notes below. Now, back to elevating your mind. No, I agree. And I think it's really just important to like you're saying, to really understand and notice what it is. Like, why is this mentality so important to you? What are you making up about yourself if you don't get the math right or you don't get the food right? What are you making up about you and your character when we're in this imperfect place?
Right.
I'm here to tell every single one of you, perfection does not exist ever. You may have this idea of perfection, but even then, even if it's not, I did everything right, but your idea of perfection, it doesn't exist.
Yeah. Because even if it's there, it's not quite enough.
Right.
It's like the lean.
Right. Well, and it's like we talked about, it's that false confidence that that's actually true for you.
Right.
I'm here to tell you, you are not special. Sorry, it's not true for you.
Right.
And people are like, well, I'm special. I did it once. Okay. Well, you did it once, but do it and like what we're talking about, the process and progress is when we can do it all the time,
right?
Not just one time, right? So I just think it's so important, especially too, because like we started with, a lot of diets are really focused on the outcome. So let's talk about the difference between outcome-based and behavior-based goals. So outcome-based goals are going to be goals that say, once I hit this weight, I've won.
Yeah.
Once I get the gold medal, I've won. Once I, get the marriage, I'm good. Those are outcome-based. There is one option or two options: win
or lose.
Yeah. Right. From behavior-based, it's based on the behavior.
Mhm.
So like Simone Biles, who is a badass, I just saw her floor routine and I was like, oh my God, she's so good. She, obviously her goal is a gold medal in the Olympics. However, she has all of these skills that she has had to learn since she was a little girl, right? And then perfect those skills and enhance those skills. I shouldn't say perfect, but like get a good grip on those skills so she can move up.
Fine tune,
great word. And she does it step by step by step by step, right? Even her, I saw her, she did this ridiculous
triple axel
thingy bobber, right?
Yeah.
And stepped out of bounds, right? Imperfection.
Yeah.
Right. And so
now at that point, she has lost when you're in the all or nothing perfectionist thinking.
But for her, she's going to be like, of course I stepped out of bounds. Did you just see what I just did?
Yeah.
It was so good. Even the commentators were like, you would expect her to step out of bounds because did you just see that?
Yeah.
But the behavior-based goals are what behaviors do I do, small behaviors to get to where I need to be going. And really, that's the most important part
Would
of it.
you also call behavior-based goals process goals as well, or processes?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So, because I think more often than not, people see outcome and processes more so than behaviors.
Yeah.
And so I just want to I think behavior is more appropriate because you're making these behavior changes for the outcome, but processes is probably a lot more identified.
Well, and when we can have process goals, we can be achieving those and that equals progress.
Right. Well, and that equals your win.
Exactly.
Too. Like that, so for example, if your goal is to go for a walk 3 times a week and you do that, that's a win.
Right.
But you could look back and say, well, I only started doing that for the last month. It's like, well, but you had to start somewhere. And the process, well, now will you be able to do it for the next month? Okay, so maybe your next goal is to say, for this month, I'm going to do 3 times a week again.
And maybe
and then you can achieve longer. Yeah, and you can achieve that.
Well, let's talk about that because the process, and we've talked about this before, of getting up, putting on some clothes that I can wear out in public, putting on my shoes, maybe grabbing the dog in the leash, and walking every day is a process, right? So even if I just walk for 5 minutes,
still a win.
3 days a week doing that, I'm creating a routine. We talk about conditioning, right? And then the dog too is like, hey, remember that thing we do for 5 minutes? We got to do it again. Dogs are great examples of that.
Right.
They'll start being like, oh, mom takes me this day, and this. They are so smart that they'll grab their own leash, right? So you're creating a process. So then 5 minutes becomes 10, 15, 20, 30. And every time we increase it, we feel good about ourselves. Now we're seeing progress from the process. And that's, I think, what's really important. But I think it's important to come back to all or nothing thinking to help people understand like how it affects their process or progress in general.
Well, the all or nothing thinking is keeping you stuck where you are.
Exactly.
Again, the doing the all to then do the nothing because you didn't do the all perfectly is bringing you back to this point of disappointment in yourself and disliking yourself.
I posted this on Instagram today about like how people start over again on Mondays. And it's like, you're never going to get anywhere because you're always coming back to the starting line.
Right.
Like you will never get anywhere. You will always feel defeated. You will always feel like you're a failure.
I just thought of a good example. So let's go into like a marathon. So literally start line and imagine that you just got off on the wrong foot, like you kind of stumbled. And so the marathon's going, but because you started off on the wrong foot, you're going to come back to the starting line and try it again.
Right. Or every time you have to pee.
Yeah.
You have to start over.
Yeah.
It's
literally
like you stop doing it.
I mean, it doesn't like, you could laugh at that for the listener, but it's like, that's literally what's happening. Yeah. And so if we have to put that in an analogy or another form and we have to repeat it over and over, that is literally it sounds silly, but that's what it is.
You're doing.
Yeah.
For me too, the mental side of this perfectionism, perfect fail, is it actually is procrastination. You are dressing up procrastination in this quality control, right? And the reason I say that is because like, well, if I can't do it perfectly, then I'm not going to do it at all. Like it's a fucking badge of honor. No, it's not.
Well, what is perfectly when you don't even know what you're doing?
Pussy. I know I cut that word earlier.
Hey.
How many of those can we
I know.
say it?
Take a account.
You guys let us know if it gets too explicit.
Yeah.
But seriously, and I get that because, again, if my parent criticized me, again, that wounded part of myself is like, no, like, oh no, I'm scared. So the ego is like, well, you can't do it at all. You can't do it perfectly. So we're just not going to do it at all. And you stay outside of even feeling achievement, which that little part of yourself wants to feel. It wants to feel like, oh, look, I did that thing and I did okay and I accomplished it just like a child would feel. But that ego comes in to save you, and it comes in to save you with the familiar. So it just says, no, you can't do it perfectly. So we're not going to do it all. Stay in your comfort zone.
Well, and I think it constantly mentally beats you down to lower your self-confidence as well, too.
Absolutely.
Right? Because if you're used to doing everything perfect, but it's never done perfect, you're always going to keep telling yourself, like, I'm not either good enough. I don't know how to do this well enough. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it because every time I do, I just don't do it right.
Mm-hmm.
So then it becomes like, I can't do this.
Right.
Instead of looking at, and I thought for an example, actually, that this was really interesting. So like, for example, in grad school for me, there is 20 different ways to do a hearing test, but the test comes out the same, ideally, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in grad school, they were so hell-bent that you do it this specific way.
No.
Then you go to like your internships and you're seeing like, whoa, they don't do it that way. They don't do it that way. And it's kind of mind-blowing because you're like, well, I've been taught that it had to be this way.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you have this fear of doing it another way because now when I go back to school and the teachers are examining me, I'm going to fail.
Yeah.
Right. So it's the same thing of like, there's this rule that someone set for me.
Yeah.
And then it's constantly reinforced. And then I go out into the real world and I don't know how to apply it anymore because I haven't had different exposure. And then when I do get different exposure, I think, well, that's not for me.
Right.
I can't do that.
Right.
So then I just don't.
Yeah. And you don't learn. And no, that's,
I was like,
spot on.
Hey,
that was spot on.
Yeah, because I remember them being like, well, that's not right.
Different...
And I was like, what the fuck? What does it matter? The outcome, it's literally circles and X's
on
a piece of paper.
Like it's great. I mean, I was thinking of therapy too. I mean, obviously the outcome can be different though.
Yeah.
But, physically this puts you into that yo-yo dieting cycle, right? And that in itself will create physiological issues from your metabolism, hormones, insulin, all of that. So physically, this all or nothing mindset is, again, keeping you stuck. Mentally, we're in this like procrastination, not trying, low self-confidence because I do try, but I put, this quality control checklist. And if I just need to make sure I check all the things off. And if I don't do it, it's been this day is ruined. Right. This diet is ruined. This exercise is ruined. And, the things we always hear are, well, my client I'm thinking of, she goes, well, I could just, I started in with a nut butter and I was just like, fuck it. And I just went off for the weekend.
One time I explained this to a client consult call that I had. It was really interesting because she, again, same thing of like, well, for breakfast, I just didn't really eat. And then lunchtime came around, I had the donut. So fuck it. Kind of that similar story. And then after that, the whole day falls apart. And I'm like, what if you thought of rather than the day being fucked, we looked at it in pieces? Because you could say, yeah, breakfast wasn't the best choice nutritionally, but I still have opportunities for lunch, snack, and dinner. Right. And instead of thinking of it all of the day, break up the day. Yeah. And that was like, whoa, I could do that. Yes. And I was like, yeah.
Well, remember, just like audiology, you're teaching a new test for hearing. With this, and I don't know why nut butters are people's thing. I have multiple people with it love nut butters. She was like, well, I don't understand. I've been doing all these things. I don't understand why I'm not seeing progress. And when I come in and I'm looking, I'm like, well, this is why.
Yes. Oh my God.
Like, do you not see that? No. And I think people like in regards to
more, I'm going to do all more perfection, more. I'm going to go even more perfect.
Well, and they're kind of blind to their failure.
Yes. Yes.
I think that's really it is. They're blind to the failure or the failure creates more of that behavior. Yes. Right. So I get in this like zone of, well, I've failed. So I'm just going to eat all of this stuff. And then I failed. It's just, but then they don't realize like, that's that is the problem. Like, this is why you're not seeing, you may be doing your workouts all the time. Or I talked to you about this today. My client who was like, I don't want to do the cut. It's not working. Yeah. And I was like, well, let explain why. Well, I'm not seeing any changes on the schedule. I looked at her tracking and she wasn't tracking on weekends.
Yeah.
And I obviously follow up with her every week,
right.
But I actually had a really hard conversation with her today. I was like, look, you have not completed a weekly review for me since April 29th. I have been gracious to provide you a review. I will not be doing that moving forward. And it was just this pattern. I'm like, you're not being honest with yourself. Like, you think, oh, the nut butters, the not tracking on the weekend, that's not why I'm not seeing progress. No, it is, because you think, well, it's the weekend. I don't know how to do this. I don't have any help.
She has a dumbass look looking at the camera for those who are listening.
I don't have any help. Like, well, I go, why wouldn't you just reach out and like, let me help you with that? And then it's well, I'm not seeing progress. This isn't working. And I'm like, no, it's not working.
Well, and
it's not working, but it's not why you think it's not working.
To go on a sidebar, kind of like client versus coach rant. There is no, I should rephrase that. Client with a coach rant, not versus, because we're never against you.
No.
But if we continually give if you're not seeing the progress and there's continual recommendations, like, so I'm thinking of a client as well. I have repeatedly said, you need to track ahead and you need to weigh out your food. Those are the two things, because now not every client I want to do this with.
No, everything we do is custom to that
There's
person.
certain clients, and for this one specifically, I know her patterns. And if she doesn't do those two things, I know what happens. And it's because I've seen it. And yet she didn't do it. Then her cut, of course, she wasn't seeing the results. And I'm like, well, these are the two things that I told you specifically need to be doing, and you're not.
Right.
And then, of course, now, and it's
and those things you're recommending are part of the process.
Right. The process. Do you want to track ahead every day? Probably not. It's kind of annoying and tedious.
Yes.
But also get the fuck over it.
Yeah.
Like, if you want this, it's part of, it's not perfect. You don't know what you're going to have tomorrow. That's okay. Cause I see that too. Well, I don't know exactly what I'm going to have. Well, it doesn't have to be perfect. Just throw something in there. If you usually have a salad every day, throw the salad every day.
Right.
And then modify it when you actually get there.
No.
But they want that perfection.
Well, and I explain it to clients that, and we're talking specifically, you guys, about like planning your day ahead, right? I explain it to people, especially when they have appointments. So this one was for one of my dentists. I said, well, your day is scheduled ahead of time, but you also have room for emergencies, correct? She's like, yes. I said, okay.
Could you not eat during the emergency appointment when no one's booked?
No. That's not what I'm talking about. Like, I'm using that as an example. Like, your day is structured. This is your patient here. This is your patient here. But then there's room for emergencies. And if you can create a meal plan or your meals for that day so that there's kind of room for when things don't go the way they're supposed to, but at least you have this structure, right? And again, it may all go right. Usually that doesn't happen. We're probably still going to get the breakfast in. And, it gives you something that's going to help you. And again, we're just using this as one example, but it just goes into that, like, all or something thinking that we teach. We teach it through norms. I have a variety of different things. I do percentages, norms, and multiple plans. So I want to talk about that.
Okay.
So all or something is exactly what it sounds like. You're either going to do the plan that we talked about or you're going to do a rendition of it. So that goes into multiple plans. I don't know where people are like, nope, this is my plan. This is the thing I have to do. I don't have one plan. I have a plan for the weekends. I have a plan for the weekdays, and I have different plans because they look very different, And for my clients, we may have a different plan on Wednesday because for some reason Wednesdays are the day the kid has gymnastics and cheerleading, until 9 p.m. Like, why is a 6-year-old doing anything till 9 p.m.? But again, I don't have children. So she's out the whole day. So then we have a different plan for that day. We maybe even track a fast food joint for that day.
Yeah. Like, for me, if I had a client that's like that, where they're late, it's like, then that's your eat out day. And it's totally okay.
And we'll
find 5 places. We'll find 5 meals that you can have at each of those places. and call it good.
Yeah. But they're like, but I'm eating out. I didn't eat my, meal prep.
Okay.
That's something.
Save it for tomorrow.
Right. And so really looking at your life, and this goes back to honesty. So for the client that I was talking about who's not tracking on the weekends, like she needs to be real with herself and say, this is what's keeping me stuck. And for you guys, I know we talked about this in dining out, like y'all underestimate how many calories are in meals out. Then we add alcohol. You're putting, and I told her, I go, and she's still seeing actual progress, but it's slow. And so I'm like, you're just taking your deficit and making it smaller from, you're getting closer to your maintenance, right? And that happens a lot. We may, still be seeing results, but it's not fast results. I'm like, well, because you're not, number one, we don't do anything super fast, but like you're not doing what it takes to get there.
Right. And that's okay. But let's be honest about it. Right. And either change the tactic, change the expectations, or reassess what we're really doing if it's right for you right now.
And that's what we're talking about, like having a plan for Saturday and Sunday. And that can look like a lot of different things. On Saturday and Sunday, maybe we're only using the food journal.
Yeah.
We have a food journal in our app where they can take pictures.
Right.
Use that.
Right.
And I again, these are recommendations that we give to people, or you can track ahead like we talked about in dining out. If you're not a tracker, you can use the food journal, or we just set some non-negotiables for ourselves. And then we reset our expectations.
Yes.
So having multiple plans is really important because, again, for this client, in her mind, her plan was the same and her actions were the same. But when we actually looked at it, it was like, well, this looks different than this. So why don't we just meet you where you are and create a something plan over here?
Well, and I've got one too where she knows like a 500 calorie deficit she's going to go off the rails with it. So she's like, I just know that's every time I do it, it just doesn't plan out very well. So I'm okay with 250 deficit, and then I'm going to fluctuate there. And I was like, that's fine. As long as like, let's be honest about it and not go into it expecting,
Well, and that goes back into failure.
Right. And then going, I failed. And it's like, well, what were we expecting at 250 calorie deficit?
I had that today. Client who's bulking. I was like, just a reminder, you're bulking.
Yeah.
Did we forget? Like, she's like, my weight's up. And I'm like, yeah, I understand. Now there was other things I told her, but so another thing I do is percentages. So percentages are 25, 50, 75, 100. So 100% days are the days when we're doing our exercise, tracking everything, step goal, water, whatever it is that you and I, or you and Amanda decide, because we are creating a plan with you, not a plan for you. You said that on our podcast that I listened to today. I was like, really? That's exactly what we do.
A plan with you, not for you?
Yeah. Okay. And I'm going to create a post about that.
Okay.
Thank you for the content. So that's our 100% plan day. Our 75% plan day is like, okay, well, on my 75% day, I may not get a workout in, but I'll do the rest.
Yeah.
Right. And then my 50% day is I am going to do, so say your initial step goal is 10K.
Sure.
On my 50% day, it's 6K. And I am going to only focus on protein or something, right? And then my 25% day is like water and steps, and the steps are 4,000 or water and a vegetable, right? Now, if the thing about this, and I actually put it in, I'll have them send me a message in Everfit of what the day is so we can keep track, or we could also like create a task, but it'll just makes too many tasks. Messy. Well, because it's like 25, you put each one in, but then we can start seeing their reality. Yep. Like which
days are 25%, which days are 100. Are you expecting 100 7 days out of the week, but you're only getting it once every 2 weeks?
Right.
So then we need to change what our 100 is. So that way you are meeting the outcome that you're looking for.
Right. But it also gives them permission too, right? Gives them permission to like, I have a plan for when shit hits the fan.
Right.
And like we say all the time, if you only have 25% to give and you give yourself 25%, you're giving 100%.
I think this is also too something that I just thought of is from a coach's perspective, it's important that the client is giving this information as well. Because what I noticed with this all or nothing, the perfect thinking is they want to be so perfect to our thoughts for them or what we talked about, that if they didn't do it perfectly, they won't give that information.
No.
Right. So let's even go back to the gal who wasn't tracking on the weekends. She didn't give that information because it wasn't, because it wasn't perfect. I'm going to change her character a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But now I can't change the expectation with you because I don't have the information, because you're withholding and you're going back into this perfect all or nothing thinking.
That is one of the, and I know where it comes from, but it is this frustration. Well, I didn't put it in because I didn't want you to see it.
And I'm like, okay, but I can't
coach you,
help.
Right.
And I had a client recently do that where every time she starts PMSing, she goes into munchie mode. And I'm like, this isn't just a PMSing thing anymore, because you repeatedly do this even when you're not PMSing.
Mm-hmm.
But then I'm asking you, are your calories that you have, because she tracks, accurate? And so now I'm having to hunt you down. Then we've got to go through the same conversation every time instead of just putting it in.
Right.
Just put it in.
Well, we have to think about, you guys, like, this is what you need to hear, like, in regards to what Amanda's saying is, like, you hiding is
delaying your outcome and your processes.
Yes. And it's the pattern that's going to, if you can't get real with yourself, and then the person who's trying to help you, you will never see the progress that you want to see. Now, we're pretty good detectives, but you're also a grown ass woman.
I'm going to be transparent. I've gotten to the point where I go, okay, like at this point, if you're not sending me your weekly check-ins and we've already talked about this and I see stuff missing, I'll check in with you on Wednesday when I go, okay, hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
So at some point, like you said, you're a grown ass woman. You have to take responsibility. You've taken responsibility by saying this isn't working. You've taken responsibility by hiring a coach. You've taken responsibility by investing your money. Now take responsibility on saying either, one, I can't do that much tracking on weekends. I just need a break then, because I rather say that's wonderful. Thank you for telling me that, because now I know to expect that, as opposed to, I just couldn't. And then I'm trying to figure out why, like what else is going on. And so you have to realize as the client on this, it's really important that you're honest and real. And I know for the past probably X amount of years, you haven't been honest and real because you didn't even know you were doing all or nothing stuff. Man. And so now we're trying to dive into that. And your all should be, or your perfectionism, I'm going to be perfectly honest as much as I can. Like change that. And instead of like working out 7 days a week and trying to do it perfectly,
I'm going to be perfectly honest.
I'm going to be perfectly honest with this person, because they're literally here to help me.
Yes. And it's a game changer when you do that. I love when clients are like, my goal.
Like when they tell on themselves, I'm like, thank you. Don't like, you're not telling on yourself, but you're just letting me, you're communicating, which I appreciate.
Right. Well, and sometimes you're just like, help.
Help.
This is happening right now. This is happening right now. I want to just be completely transparent. You told me to ask you for help.
Which
Great.
is fine. I'd rather have that. Like, I'd rather have the client that, and I tell them each, if you're struggling, reach out to me. I might not get back to you right that moment. But if it's something where I'm like, I need to help her process this more immediately, then I will.
Right.
And that may be after hours. That may be on a weekend, which we try not to do for our own boundaries. But again, at some point, if I'm going to help you, I don't want to say nip this in the bud, but process it so that way we can move on together and have better. Because again, going back to your processes versus outcomes versus behaviors, if I can improve this behavior next time it happens by just talking with you on that this one time, great. Then you're going to reach your outcome goal much quicker.
Right. Exactly. No, I agree with you. It is something, and again, we as coaches can look at you being dishonest with us, and I'll have that conversation. I was like, I need to know the relationship that you're making of me.
I know. You taught me that one.
Yeah. What are you making up about me while you're judging me? And I told my client in Portugal, I go, I need you to understand one thing. I may be the only person in your life that's never going to judge you as good or bad based on these like food, exercise. And I know that's going to be uncomfortable for you. I will walk with you. I will hold your hand. We'll get through hard times. So I need you to understand that. And then by understanding that, we practice honesty with each other
and respect.
Yeah. So that's a big, big one. Another all or something though, coming back to
sorry.
it's okay, is norms, which we talk about. Our norms are what we teach our clients, which are the actual process, right? So we already kind of touched on them. A norm is, thinking about your worst week and what you absolutely know that you can accomplish. Right. So, you've had, a stressful week at work or whatever it is. I know I can absolutely do, like we talked about, 6,000 steps every day, right? Now, again, there might be a day you don't do that. And so here comes the flexibility. Well, then maybe I'm a little bit higher on a different day, right? But I know at a minimum, I can get 6,000 steps in. I can, have a vegetable at each meal and, get 7 hours of sleep or whatever it is. Like looking at your worst week, deciding what it is you can do from a nutrition standpoint, a movement standpoint, an exercise standpoint. So movement being like non-exercise activity, exercise activity, and then whatever else we need to do.
Yeah. Here's another, what I want to add to the norms too, because I had this conversation with a client before. Her goal, for example, was walking 3 days a week. And she said, I can walk, we'll say Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And I was like, okay, I love the specificity. But what happens if Wednesday the meeting runs late and you can't go for a walk?
Right.
So why don't, instead of saying perfectly, I would do this Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I would say, I'm going to do this 3 times a week. And then on Sundays, I'm going to look ahead to see when that would be most feasible. And also saying, say it was Monday, Wednesday, Friday. The meeting did run late unintentionally. Where in Thursday or Saturday can I fit this in? So like you said, maybe on another day, I make up a little bit more extra steps, or where's my flexibility to like roll over what I had intended to do this week? Yeah. So again, it doesn't have to be on Tuesdays and Thursdays I work out. It could be I work out twice a week. Ideally, it's Tuesdays and Thursdays. Friday's kind of my just in case day.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And, having these habits and building on them, like we talked about, and then also being flexible with them is the process.
Yes.
And then I feel accomplished because I will say even the client who was like, this isn't working. She kind of reeled herself back in. Right. She goes, I'm doing the workouts 4 days a week. I'm like, exactly. Right. Look at the progress, right? And the process that you're doing. You're doing workouts 4 days a week. You're getting stronger in these lists. And so that then goes into like not only creating, the norms, the percentages, the something days to create the process, but then celebrating the progress along the way. And it's not going to beat the scale all the time.
I know.
It's not, you guys.
I talked to a client about this today.
I'm 41. I know that my body does not lose a pound of weight like it used to. Yeah. It just doesn't. But I'm still seeing changes, and I'm experiencing that. Yeah. So like I validate that, but I'm not sitting here like crying because my weight is slowing. I do my progress photos. But that's the thing. That's the all or nothing. They don't see it on the scale, so they don't want to do the progress photos.
Oh, I know.
I'm like, dude.
Like, those are the progress photos. I prefer the progress photos. Fuck the scale.
I have one client, and she knows who she is. You know who I'm talking about. Like, you've missed the photos again.
Yeah.
And she looks fantastic. But
I tell every client that they're going to be the ugliest photos you've ever taken in your fucking life. And I don't give a crap. Well, like just put on your panties or your shorts or your swimsuit, whatever it is, and just do it. Like you are so ugly in them, and it's okay. Like, and I don't mean that like but it's like I'm thinking about mine. I'm just like, meh. Yeah. Well, look at mine. I'm like this, and it's 5 a.m. and the lights are fucking bright because I don't turn on the lights.
No, but it's the fear of it, and it's kind of like hiding the calories. It's like hiding what if.
Well, I'm going to flip side your scale thing. So let's put it this way, because I notice this with women as well, especially who are in their pregnancy and going through that. So I'm not really eating anymore right now. Like I'm kind of good at my 24. Today I'm like, ooh, I'm starting to get hungrier, I can tell. And so I'm needing to eat more frequently. With that being said, I'm weighing myself every day. That scale is going up little by little. So I could be going, holy cow, like it's going up. I like, even though I'm pregnant, I know I'm supposed to gain weight, but like this is too quick or whatever, whatever mind that you have to play.
Yeah. You have this perfect weight gain.
The perfect weight gain of it's exactly 1 pound per week. So every Monday it goes up 1 pound.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's not how it works.
No. And so you could do that, or I could like be like, yeah, it's supposed to be going up. It's going to like today, like we'll say yesterday it was 143. Today it's 145. Tomorrow it may be 148. And then the next day it may be 144. It doesn't mean I'm gaining and losing all of that. But it also doesn't mean I'm going to perfectly gain a pound every week.
Well, and your weight is never perfect.
No.
You could get on the scale first thing in the morning, be one weight, go have your cup of coffee, be a different weight. Try weighing yourself during the middle of the day. I did that yesterday. I was like, oh, hello.
Yeah, that's what when I go to the doctor, they're like it's like 150. And I'm like, okay, but in the morning it's like 143, 142.
I'm like, there's a 6 on there. I was like, oh, interesting. Just the progress though, just like to get back to that is, okay, I have done these norms. I've done it for 6 weeks where before I would have given up. Right. So yay me.
Right.
Yay me. So progress is consistency.
Yes.
I think there's celebration in consistency.
Yes.
When you've been someone who has been all or nothing thinking. It's such a wonderful feeling. Wow. I mean, we get it all the time. Wow, I never realized I can do less. I can eat more.
Yes.
And I feel great. The other part of progress too is, again, it's not the scale, you guys. That's one form of data, but looking at your lifts.
Yeah.
Like we all know, at least if you have a good coach, hopefully they're celebrating your lifts. Like I am telling clients, and sometimes I feel like it just like falls on deaf ears. And I'm like, look at how you've this, and that. That means that you've gained lean body mass. That means that you're stronger. That means you're technically building muscle, right? That's a wonderful thing because your body is now changed. And they only think body change scale, but I'm like, this is also progress,
right?
The photos are also progress. The fact that one of my clients, actually the one who doesn't want to do progress photos, she's working out 3 days a week right now.
See?
Resting.
Yeah. That resting is sometimes progress.
But also might be why she doesn't want to do progress photos. It's a work in progress.
Yeah.
So what were you going to say?
So I wanted to get this client a shout out. So she graduated with us. So she came to us in January. And at that time, inconsistent with exercise, yo-yo diet, 2 kids, personal stuff going on. And I've known her for years and years. So it was like, okay, bare minimum, shit really hits the fan. What can you do? So, and she did her consistent eating schedule, non-existent. So it was like, whatever, I'll have this and then we'll have this. And then dinner time comes around, the kids are screaming, I'm hungry. There's nothing in the fridge. So we just like figure it out. And it's like, okay. So during this time, we essentially got her, she bare minimum 3 times a week working out or walking. We did have a workout schedule in there, but she wasn't doing it consistently. And so I was like, do you want to? Like, I don't care, but I don't want you to keep seeing it and feel guilty that you're not doing it.
Right.
So let's just take it out. Okay. Sounds good. Drinking. So then it was no protein essentially whatsoever. So can you just have a protein drink with an apple on your way to drop the kids off of school? Yes. So stuff hits the fan with her personally, and her life is significantly changes. And she was still able to, because what we did was say every Monday you're having X, every Tuesday you're having B, like Monday through Friday, there was a dinner plan. So every Monday she would have spaghetti and meatballs, for example. And I said, when that starts to get boring, when you have the space to figure out something else, then figure out something else, but make it easy. And so she, during the time we were working together, she said it makes it so nice because she doesn't have to think about what it is. So, okay. So we have a win of, I'm realizing I don't have the time or the energy right now to do like a workout, but I can get a walk in 3 times a week. I don't have the energy to change a meal plan, but I can decide to have like these 5 meals planned out every day. I don't have the energy to like figure out exactly what I want for breakfast and lunch, but I can have the protein shake and the apple every day. Okay, great. So when this life changed, I'm checking in with her. How's this going? Because we were still working together through our program. And she's like, it's great. I'm still doing everything. I was like, oh my gosh, seriously? She's like, yeah, it's actually really easy. And her story is very like touching to me. Cause she's like, honestly, if I didn't do this with you, I don't know what I would like have done, because at least this provided like a structure for me to have when my life was going like really chaotic. And then today she texted me, she's like, I just have to tell you, like, stuff is kind of still effed up, but look what I'm having for breakfast. And it's like apples with yogurt and stuff like that. And I'm like, that's awesome. And she's like, yeah, and I went for a walk the other day. And so she's like, I'm finding everything that we did and what I learned from you super easy and doable.
And sustainable.
And I was like, that's wonderful. Yes. I'm so proud of you.
And she's celebrating it.
Because she's a perfectionist. She wants to do it just right. She comes from a Hispanic culture and then she's first generation and then she works in a college environment and she has a PhD. And so everything has been, I've got to perform perfectly because my parents have these expectations because now I'm first generation. I don't want to let them down. And then I've got to do that.
As a Hispanic woman, I'm going to tweak that a little bit.
Go ahead.
I think there's this sense of, and I'm not, parents are not immigrants, but there's this sense of they got me here.
Yes. So now
I need to provide for them. I need to provide the life for them. I don't think they have I'm not saying her parents don't have high expectations. You know what I'm saying? I think it's more of a,
they have it because I
there's
know
this kind of, I want to take care of them.
It's
type
that,
of pressure.
but I also don't want to have what they've sacrificed for nothing.
Go away. Yes, that's exactly
that's like,
I
don't like my parents came here. They were immigrants. They are immigrants. I don't want that to go away. And if I don't do this perfectly, it's going to be for nothing. And it's like, they would have been fine with her, like just getting a bachelorette and working wherever.
Well, and the nice thing is now she's learning how to take care of herself.
Yes. She feels much better. She's lost like 12, 15 pounds by just eating more.
Share that with her parents.
Yeah. And so, well, and she goes, even the structure with her girls, because they're younger, is more easy at dinner time because they're like, it's like they already know what we're having every time too.
Yes.
And so I'm like, this again, if she wanted to just look at the outcome of like, I lost weight. Like, yes, she achieved that, but how much more did she achieve? By the weight is the last thing that she even kind of realized too, because so much of her energy was figuring it out.
You said it in one of our episodes of like, so you get someone's resume and you see this awesome job title, right? Got the job title. And oftentimes that's like the weight loss, but then there's all of the little skills underneath, like of how did I get the senior executive job title? It wasn't because I was
senior
cute.
Executive,
it's because I had to perform in these ways. And that's so important. And so one other thing with her is, and I might get emotional about this, like to go through hard times and choose yourself. Yeah. Because it's important to you, but also you have helped create that for her to choose and prioritize herself and her children through what I imagine was a shitstorm. Like what that, you guys, is how you build confidence in yourself. You go through hard times, you figure it out. You prioritize you really. I honestly really think that it is what it is. And you come out like, wow, I did that.
Well, and it's funny that you mentioned that because she texted me like the other week, she texted me a picture. She's like, oh, I figured I need to go shopping and like clean out my closet now because none of my stuff fits. And she's like, and I feel sexy as fuck.
Yeah, girl.
And I'm like, yeah, like
I love it.
Yes.
Love
and
it.
Again, when she first came to us, her thing was like, I just need to lose weight. But we didn't focus on the weight loss at all. And by in turn, she got the outcome she was seeking.
Absolutely.
But again, she gained so much more.
You got her out of the all or nothing cycle.
Yeah.
You got her out of the all or nothing cycle into something she could do consistently, even through hell.
Even without a coach.
Yeah. And now she can do it forever. And it comes back to the boombox.
Yeah.
Yeah. For those who haven't heard that episode, I think I've said it multiple times, is the way we teach this is like a boombox. You have different knobs. You have your nutrition knob, your exercise, your steps or movement, stress management and other habits, whatever that may be, water, sleep, all important. And at any given time, no matter what your body is doing, you can adjust the knobs. We never have all the knobs on full blast. We never have all the knobs off. We're just adjusting them. Like my client just had, unfortunately, a cancerous mass in her breast. So she had to have it removed and she can't do her workouts right now. So I just said, hey, you got to turn up the nutrition knob right now and maybe walking, stress management. Like we can't exercise and that's okay. We're not turning it off, but we're going to turn these other things up for now. And then when your exercise comes back, we bring it back in, we can turn some of them down a smidge too. And whether, again, it's illness, injury, perimenopause, menopause transition, pre and postnatal, pre and postpartum, you just change the knobs.
Yes.
You just turn them up, down, and adjust them as you need based on your circumstances.
And change the definition of progress too, right? Yes. So your progress when you were 20 is not the same as your 40s. Absolutely. Progress for me is not the same right now as it was when I was 20.
Yeah, absolutely. And celebrating as much as you can.
And sitting and feeling proud.
Yeah.
Like that's one thing we had talked about, is that clients will glaze over of how they actually feel. And I'm like, I want you to sit for 2 minutes and just like feel proud of yourself. And it's okay. Because the more you do that, the more you'll be like, oh, it's nice. And I don't have to sit here for 2 minutes, recognizing that. I can sit here for 30 seconds and move on.
Yeah. Well, we added into our program that every Friday they have to send their wins for the week.
Good. Yay.
Yeah, so it comes to them. So awesome. Yeah. So hopefully this is helpful, you guys. I know, this subject is something a lot of people struggle with, a lot of women struggle with. And hopefully you took away some things today, percentages, norms, some things, and then, celebrating the progress of the process that you've created. And once you do that, honestly, you will be set for life. I saw a quote and it said, those people who focus on outcomes will do that short term. People who focus on progress are focusing on forever, and that's something that I truly believe. So if you like our information and you're like, I want to work with those girls, check out our Clarity Call link in the notes. We're great. I mean, I think so.
I know so.
I mean, yeah, it's true. We know that. We're very confident in our process and progress with our clients. If not, you just want to hear us talk more. Yeah. You can find us on Instagram at Mindset of Matter Coaching
and fitbyamanda.az.
You'll find this recording, not live, but you'll find this recording on YouTube at The Mindset of Matter. We have a TikTok at The Mindset of Matter. And don't forget, if you have questions on this topic, we have a link to our questionnaires. It's a questionnaire type form, and you can actually ask questions about our specific subjects by going through that link. So please do. And always, always, always just remember this. If this is the only thing you take away from this podcast,
what you say in the mind,
you see in the mirror. Goodbye. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Mindset Mirror Connection podcast. If you find this information helpful, please subscribe to our channels on Spotify and Apple iTunes, and or give us a 5-star rating and review. We love the love, and we'd love for you to share this with people you love as well. Once again, thanks for listening.